Hi.
What's going on?
Nothing. Not sleeping well.
Oh. What can we do about that? What
I don't
do you
know.
need?
The recycling only picked up one of the cans.
What? How's that work? They just left the second can, or you didn't take the second can?
No, they just left it. So I'm bummed.
Wait, they came by.
Yeah.
Both cans were at the curb.
Yeah. They
And
only,
they only emptied one? And left the other one? That's
yeah.
weird.
Yeah. That's all right. Cool. That's my week.
It's not okay, though, because we pay for that service.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
There's like billions and billions and billions of leaves. I just can't get them all. It's like all the Pokemon in the world. I just can't. I'm not going to be able to know all the names of them. It's just billions of them.
I'm not an expert on leaves, but I'm 87.5% sure that leaving them doesn't do anything.
Yeah, except we are in tick country, and leaves help protect the ticks from the cold. And then,
but we're not in tick season.
No, I know, but they're still out there because it doesn't get cold enough to kill them all. And so the more like leaves and brush and grass you leave around your house, when it is tick season, March to June, you're effed.
I don't know. I'm not thinking about it.
So those are my trains of thoughts. How are you?
Pickup and delivery. I'm fine. The internet's down.
Oh boy.
Can't do internet stuff.
Can't do hot water stuff right now either. Because our hot water heater's like, maybe not.
Yeah, our hot water heater started leaking inside of itself and fried the computer inside. Why they put the computer and the water bits inside the same thing seems weird.
What hell,
seems
dude?
Strange to me. But yeah, we had to have somebody come out here and take a look at it, and they said it was shot, and they said they would get us a quote on, that was last Wednesday.
It's a week.
And it's a week later. I called them on Monday. They said, oh yeah, we're working on it. Still no quote. I don't know. Might have to call somebody else, or maybe just buy a new water heater and I'll put it in.
Oh,
Can't
boy.
be that hard. It's just pipes.
Yeah, I'm with you on it all. I just, I don't know.
It can't be that hard to put in. There's no wiring because it plugs in.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it does have a gas hookup, so there's a deal there, right? I've never done a gas hookup, but that's still just pipes.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be better to have a professional do it, but
it's all just a pain in the adulting stuff that I don't want to deal with.
Yeah, and plus with COVID and stuff, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't just freely let people come in and out of your house. You got to be all like weird about it, and
yeah. And maybe everyone thinks we're, weirdos, but then when they leave, you're like sanitizing everything that they possibly could have touched.
No, I think that's all CDC advice for having in-home service.
Yeah.
That's not being over dramatic, right? That's
felt over dramatic, like
I know, but that's what they say to do.
Wiping everything down.
That's what they say to do because you can't know.
Yeah.
You can't know if that person has COVID because asymptomatic spread. You can't know if they're vaccinated. You can't know if they're taking their mask off when you're not standing around,
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of, you can't know if they're like sneezing and coughing all over the equipment or whatever.
Yeah.
You can't know if they're sick.
And now there's a new Transformer variant that you're just like, what? Why?
Whatever. Yeah, they had to skip. I guess they skipped a couple of
Letters.
Greek letters because one sounded Chinese in origin.
Oh, yeah, we want to stay away from that.
Right, and so they didn't want to add more fuel to that fire. And then the other one is commonly pronounced new. It's also pronounced nigh. It depends on who you are, but it's pronounced new in enough of the world that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
New COVID, like, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So they decided to name it after something that put the fear of every Gen Xer who watched Transformers growing up.
Yeah, it's a total Decepticon happening right now.
Omicron. It's not the right. It's
Omicron, right?
Yeah, it's Omicron is the variant name, but Unicron is the planet eater from the Transformers movie.
That it's just
in 1986.
It tracks.
It does track.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, that's not a great name for it.
Yeah, no.
It's better than the other two though, because the other two would cause, I think, other issues. I don't know. I don't want to talk about COVID anymore.
Me neither.
I'm done.
Me neither. I just thought it was funny.
I really like to be done with that altogether. It's not.
And yeah, I would like it. I would really, really like it to go away now.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I don't think it's gonna. But,
I don't. We're in Decepticon. Like, come on.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be in a cycle of constant vaccination booster shots every 6 months.
Yeah, and the scary part for me is that there's so many young people that are just like, yep, this is what happened. You know, when we told the kids, they just kind of like shrugged. They're like, yeah, which says a lot about their generation and the, other 20-year-olds that are just like, they just kind of roll with it. And then also that there's so much shit going on in the world that they're not surprised by it now.
Yeah.
It's
They're
really,
just growing up this is becoming normal for them.
Yeah, it's really sad.
And that's something you can really say about human beings, right? Is that we're fairly adept at adapting to whatever our surroundings is, and then moving forward from there with the we're surviving, right? We try to survive. That's the whole point of us. That's not true of every individual person, right?
Exactly.
But that's true as a species overall. We're very good at adapting to new surroundings or new normals. The problem is that it also breeds apathy, and then you start not caring.
Yeah.
And then you stop doing the precautions and stuff.
Yeah. It's a sad thing, but I'm also kind of proud of them at the same time, because they're just like, all right, this is another thing. So what do we do? Like, what's the plan of attack about it?
Yeah.
So
I know some people feel like we are more withdrawn than other families around here, but I just don't think I can trust other people right now to have my best interest when they won't even put their own best interest in mind, right? Like, they're walking around just doing whatever they want to do, acting like nothing's happening.
Yeah.
And that's going way too far. And that's also harming anybody they come into contact with.
Right.
And so I just can't trust that, like, even people I consider smart and friends of mine, I'm seeing them do stuff on social media that I go, that seems a little risky.
Yeah.
Even
with vaccination.
Yeah, even with vaccination, but I'm not judging them, right? I just go, that seems a little bit risky. So now I know, okay, this person went out to XYZ place and they weren't wearing a mask in the photos.
Yeah.
So were they wearing a mask at all? And then I can't be around that person now because I can't trust that I wouldn't bring it home to my young children, right? It's just a whole thing. And I'm not specifically talking about anyone. I'm just saying, generally speaking,
because
not people that I actually hang out with at all anyways, but just people I know. And like, well, that just seems like a little risky of behavior, considering all the factors. But everybody's allowed to do whatever they want.
Yeah,
I even believe people are allowed to not get the vaccine if they want to. But if you're not going to get the vaccine, stay the fuck home.
Yeah.
Don't go to parties. Don't go out to football games. Don't go out to concerts. Don't go out.
Yeah.
Don't go to the movie theater. Don't go to work.
Yeah.
Stay the fuck home.
Yeah.
You can have no vaccine and just stay home.
Or like double mask it, or because
I get fear. I get uncertainty. I get not trusting the government. I get all of those things. I understand them on a logical level. But then when you decide that, then you also have to decide the kind route, which is to protect other people in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's by staying the fuck home.
There are compromised people who can't have the vaccine.
Right.
So what are they doing?
Yes.
They're trying to protect themselves as best as they can. And not everyone can stay home and not do anything, but you can not go to a football game. Like that's not a have to kind of a thing.
Yeah,
I think our country should have been locked down for way longer than it was.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I'm seeing on social media, it's like, oh, I lived through a pandemic. Not yet.
Yeah,
it's not over. I don't understand why people are like talking about it like it's in the past.
I think it's
like
coping.
It's done.
I think it's coping. I see that too. I think it's a coping mechanism.
That's what scares me, is that on one side we're having scientists tell us these things, and then on the other side you're seeing just people getting back to life. It's like, oh well, I lived through a pandemic. Okay.
Well, that's another thing, is people generally
But-
speaking, don't have a ton of patience.
Yeah.
Individual people can be very patient in context, but generally speaking, we're not very patient, especially in the United States.
Yeah.
We're very much instant gratification people.
Yeah.
And so waiting for anything to be over,
Yeah.
right? And then you get the vaccine and you think, and granted, when we first got the vaccine rolled out, it was kind of going to be able to go back to normal.
Yeah.
Depending on where you live.
And depending on how many people were willing to get vaccinated, we're only a little bit over half
In the United States,
in
yeah.
the United States. That's not enough.
And that's different per county, per state,
Yeah.
right, per city.
And if we look at other pandemics and other disease whatevers, smallpox was not eradicated by herd immunity. It's eradicated by vaccination.
Yeah.
That's the only way. So, and even like,
I just realized we said we didn't want to talk about COVID, and now
I'm
we're
sorry,
deep diving.
but
on
also the they call it the Spanish flu, but it's not the Spanish flu, but it, because it
the
wasn't
1908 flu.
the 1908 flu. Thank you. Even then, it took 6 years to
Yeah.
like get to a doable situation,
Where we weren't dealing with it all the time, yeah.
and I don't know. We're not even at 2 years yet.
Yeah, we are.
No, March will be 2, right?
Well, no, I mean, we're not at 2 years in terms of when businesses started like actually paying attention,
Oh, I hear you.
but COVID's been a thing since 2019.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
True. Okay, yes, because we're in December. Sorry, but yeah. So, I mean, we have a long way to go. I don't understand.
I don't either.
I'm sure there are other people like us that are just like, oh my God, but then don't want to talk about it because it is hopeless feeling. And especially,
And
people-
when majority of people are like just going, oh, it's fine, everything's fine.
you want to believe that it's fine, but
Yeah, and so you're less likely to be like, hey, we're taking more precautions. We're
My
going a little
anxiety-
bit further.
my anxiety won't let me forget it and won't let me, I like having a plan of attack
Yeah.
on, okay, yes, we need a service person to come and fix something in the house. Okay, so we just explain our situation and we hope that the person is masked and all that. And then we just clean like banana ladies and we spray all the disinfectants and we just do the best that we can. Like that helps me kind of put it in a box and be like, okay, I took care of that.
Okay, hold on a second.
Banana ladies.
Yeah. What is that?
Cleaning like bananas, you know what I mean? Like crazily cleaning.
Like, so you're saying bananas as in like,
Instead of the word crazy, because I
I'm
feel
being
like
bananas.
that's a
I'm
drug.
being bananas.
I'm going bananas,
Okay.
Come
Right.
on.
I didn't know. I've never heard banana ladies
Okay.
before.
Oh, right. But at the same time, I don't want to use the word crazy anymore because mental health is a thing.
Yeah, but how is okay?
I don't know. I'm a 90s.
Bananas is still like.
I'm a 90s kid, so
I mean, there is some craziness to the cleaning, right? Up after the person who was here in our house for less than 15 minutes.
yes, there was a frenzied cleaning. Yes.
And they didn't have any contact with any human beings in this house, except
Yes.
for me, 7 feet away, double masked up,
double
right?
masked up, yeah, on a Wednesday.
And the only time that we even conversed was outdoors, masked up. So like,
That's what I'm saying.
there
is that
shouldn't we should not logically needed to. Science doesn't say, hey, you should have gone crazy with the cleaning,
yeah,
the banana cleaning or
the
whatever,
frenzied.
the frenzied cleaning,
Yeah.
but it made us feel better.
Yes.
But even still, for the last 7 days, I've been waking up checking my temperature,
Right, but imagine
and
if
that's
we.
not logic speaking.
Yes, I get that. That's fear based.
That's anxiety
Yeah.
speaking. Yeah.
So imagine if we didn't do a frenzied cleaning. Imagine if you guys weren't masked.
Yeah.
Imagine if he was coughing. Like that's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that it was all best case scenario happening, but we handled it like it was like
Except
it was
for
a,
now, he has to come back for a couple of hours to.
if and when. Like goodness.
Yeah.
Anyways, are you ready to talk about our thing now?
Our thing. What's our thing?
Our topic.
Oh, our top. Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about the topic.
Okay. I will, after this commercial of me
Oh.
defining all of my terms. Banana lady
No,
means
I don't think
a
banana-
frenzied cleaning person.
I don't think banana lady does not sound kosher to me. It does not sound right. In my head, that just sounds like that's no. I don't think banana lady
Okay, well,
sounds good.
I haven't even had all of my coffee yet.
Oh, I did want to talk about one thing before we get into the topic.
Okay.
Because the topic, this is completely off topic.
Okay.
Have you seen, I can't remember what the name of it. It's a new Disney movie. Mm-hmm. Encanto, maybe?
Oh, no, we haven't seen that yet.
Okay. I saw a clip from it on TikTok. Mm-hmm. And one of the characters is like really like buff.
Okay.
But it's I think a female presenting character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know because I just saw this clip.
Yeah.
I don't know what the actual story of the character is, but it's a little song and dance number. And it was confusing for me.
Okay.
I'm going to show it to you later. And so
Okay.
you can see if it's confusing for you too,
Okay.
but it's awesome.
Oh, okay, great. So it's confusing in a good way?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't seen it yet. It's a family movie night
Okay.
kind of a movie.
All right. Yeah. I want to watch it because, just because of this character, but
Another family
it's
movie.
confusing in the same way. Just to give you a hint, that Judy Hopps is confusing
Oh
for me.
no. Oh no. You're having you caught feelings?
I caught feelings for this
this
big
big buff
female.
character?
Yeah.
Nice. Another family movie that we watched recently is 8-Bit Christmas. That was a really good movie. Neil
liked
Patrick
it.
Harris.
I liked it up until the very end
Oh,
because it was fine and that's a perfectly reasonable ending for it. But I was like, no, why did that have to happen?
you wish that they had gotten him a Nintendo?
No,
Oh, okay. All right.
nope,
Spoilers,
that's not the
but
ending
whatever.
I'm talking about.
What?
Were the father's not around anymore?
Oh, I get you. All right.
Sorry about the spoilers, folks.
I get you. All right. Yeah,
Were-
that
were
is
there,
kind
like-
of a bummer.
Look, I get it probably wouldn't look great to put Steve Zahn in old person makeup so that he looked older than his actual peer.
I think the point of the movie is to appreciate what you have
I get the
while
point
you
of the
have
movie.
it.
I get it. But having lost my father,
Yes.
that doesn't feel good. I don't
Right.
want to talk or think about that. And in the movie, the kid ended up having a really good relationship with their dad, which I didn't get to have
Yeah.
before my dad passed, right? We didn't
Yeah.
have a thing like in the movie. And so
Oh,
it just made me,
It bummed you out.
I was just like,
see.
yeah, okay, whatever.
Okay.
Because up until that point, I was like, oh, this is very much my childhood. I didn't grow up in Illinois, but
Yeah.
all of the same shit. We were all trying to get Nintendos, and the rich kid in town had one, and we
Yeah.
would all go over and play at his
Power
house.
glove and stuff.
All of that stuff.
Yeah.
The whole movie is my childhood, right?
Yeah.
The Cabbage Patch Kids selling out. That's it. That's
Yeah.
Nintendo, right? And then also having a dad who's like a little bit tough on you, who
Kind of dismisses.
is blue collar, and you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
all of that stuff, but then actually cares on a level that's deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought they were leading to the same outcome that I had for Nintendo as a child,
Yeah.
but that's not what happened. And then they're like,
Oh,
oh,
I
and
didn't
then
know that.
and then also the dad's dead. And I'm like,
Oh.
come on.
Sorry.
Yeah, whatever. It was
I'm sorry.
a good movie otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a little bit too close to home for me. Mm-hmm. This 100% the experience I had.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't do a heist to get a Nintendo.
Within as much reason as you can possibly get.
Right. But there was like people rallying against video games and
Yeah.
trying to get the Nintendo banned and,
Yeah.
you know, all of those plot points, right? All of us poor friends who couldn't afford Nintendos. Like, well, I will say that the rich kid in our story wasn't as shitty as the rich kid in this story. But I mean, making that kid shitty is, you know,
Yeah.
a good plot device.
Yeah.
But I mean, he wasn't perfect, but he also wasn't like the shittiest kid in the world. Mm-hmm. Never kicked a TV onto a dog. More spoilers. Anyways, all right, let's get into this topic.
Okay.
All right, what did you want to talk about today. You said it was a surprise topic that I wouldn't know anything
That's
about.
not true. That's not
coming
true.
into this completely unaware.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
This is a surprise to me too, folks.
All right. So when we were kids, true crime was like a very small genre of like quote unquote entertainment, right? So it'd be like in bookstores mostly.
There was no such thing as true crime when I was a kid, at least not publicly. I mean, if there were books and stuff,
Yeah.
maybe. But I don't remember people saying, well, maybe true crime, like books.
I'm thinking there were books.
There were probably books, but like this podcast phenomenon.
Yeah. So
didn't exist.
now, quote unquote, entertainment is podcasts, it's documentaries, it's movies, and it's books. Now it's a huge genre, and it could be, you know, real or it can be made up, right? Fiction and nonfiction kind of things. But why do you think it's such a huge topic now versus back when we were younger, or, you know, however, 30 years ago or 40 years ago, it wasn't a big thing, but now all of a sudden it's everywhere and huge and everyone's talking about
The
it.
same reason everything is huge now or feels huge now is the internet. We didn't have the internet back then. So true crime novels was a niche thing that only people who were interested in that stuff read about. And then you didn't hear anybody talking about it because unless you knew somebody
Yeah.
personally who would talk about it,
So it's the informational age that's,
it's the internet.
yeah,
The internet allows us to share all of our feelings, good,
about
bad,
everything.
and indifferent,
Yeah.
and all of our opinions, good, bad, or indifferent, on every single thing. And, you know, it's become this really like, if a tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it?
Yeah.
It's like, if you don't tell people your opinion on the new Netflix show, do you even exist?
Right.
Who knows? Maybe. I've been
Right.
toying about getting off of that social media completely, but I don't think it's great for my mental health. And I think true crime just feels more prevalent because of internet, because the internet removes gatekeepers from the creative process, right? So I have a thought on that too. So everything that we would have to buy through a publisher or a manufacturer before the internet, like books and movies and music, all had people saying who made it and who didn't, right? They had people in the middle between the artist and the consumer
Yeah.
deciding who would be able to publish things. That's not the case anymore. Now anyone can publish anything,
Yeah.
and there's platforms for them to go on and advertise those things
Themselves.
for no money.
Yeah.
Now, does every single person who creates content for the internet get big? No, that's not how it works. It's just like any other creator economy. There's going to be a small amount of people who rise to the top, and then an amount of people that get like middling fame, and then there's going to be a ton of people, the vast majority of people, that just create stuff for love of it and have small audiences,
Yeah.
or niche audiences, right? But true crime is just a product of not having anybody say, no, that's not a good enough podcast. This podcast that we're doing right now is the same thing. Nobody's telling us, don't do this.
Yeah.
Should people tell us to don't do this? Maybe. I don't
Please
know.
don't.
I like doing it, so I'm not going to stop doing it,
Yeah.
right? But it's not a monetary stream for us, and it's not something we're doing to become rich and famous, right? It's just
Yeah.
something we're doing because it's helping our relationship, and it's giving us time to have adult conversations without interruption, right?
Yeah.
But all of those things are now possible, and you know, all I had to do was buy some equipment and learn how to use a program, and now we're publishing a podcast,
Yeah.
right? Which is basically a fucking radio show. You get what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah.
And before, we wouldn't have got a radio show,
Yeah.
right? We would have had to
So,
hustle and drive and know the right people and be the right thing
yeah.
to get that. And now we don't. Now we can just say, no, fuck it. This is what we want to talk about, and we're going to do that.
Right.
And it's the same
So it's
thing.
more controlled by the people and less about like whether it's marketable or not.
I think the popularity is controlled by the audience. but I don't think that the audience controls whether or not it gets made.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's why anything that was more niche 30 years ago is now more prevalent.
And everywhere.
Right. And that's another thing that I was thinking about in terms of art, and then we can go back to the regular topic, is a lot of people say that websites aren't art, right? But if you think about it, everything that is considered art, books, movies, music, illustration, painting, poetry, essays, photography, all of those things have an element in common that also websites have. Okay. Editing. And it doesn't matter who does the editing. It could be the artist. It could be handing that off to another person in a pipeline. It could be a film editor. It could be a copy editor.
It could be your oldest son.
It could be anything, right? But the editing exists in all of those mediums because art has to be edited, right? Nobody sits down and draws something or writes something and then just goes, well, that's done. Right?
Yeah.
Some of the processes are more formal and some of them are more like subtle, but every single production of art requires some form of editing. And websites require editing. And while the data side and what to build and who to build for and the content is all driven by data, the build of the website requires editing. It's art.
Yeah.
It's art and science. Anyways, I will die on that hill.
Love it. I think anything that you're passionate about and that it comes from like internally, it comes from your heart and your soul can be considered art. To a degree.
But it's still going to have an edited process because at some point in the process of going from an idea to a produced piece, you've edited it in some way.
Or revised it or,
Edited it, right?
Yeah.
Revision, iteration, those are just fancy words for editing.
Yeah.
You're just saying, okay, here's the original idea I had, but here's what I ended up with. How did I get there? Through a process of editing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Even
good.
if all of that editing took place in your head. Right?
Yeah.
When I say formal process, like music has a producer who edits the songs. They don't just go into the booth and be like, oh, baby, baby. And they're like,
Take
beautiful gold record.
Right.
They edit that, right?
Right.
Nobody films a movie in chronological order that the movie is. It's all edited together later.
Yeah.
Right? TV
You're right.
commercials, music videos, right?
You're very right.
Yeah. So it's all right.
Yeah. And like for me, I don't take a picture and then post it. I Photoshop and, color correct and all that stuff too, because I want it to be what I'm seeing in my head.
Yeah.
I want it to match more of what I see.
Edited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Even board game design
Yeah. I'm
is
sure.
edited. Like a designer will come up with an idea, test it, iterate.
Yeah.
Then they give it to a developer and a developer goes, oh, this doesn't work. They're the editor.
Yeah.
And then the thing gets published, right? Video games, same thing. Video games actually have editors as in the credits, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have an editor involved, you're probably doing art.
Yay.
Just so you know.
Cool.
Everyone.
I like it. Okay, so there's what I wanted to bring to the table today is when does it go from information for true crime, right? Information to exploitation, right? So
It doesn't go, there's no line. All true crime is exploitation. All of it. It's purely for entertainment.
yeah,
So it's exploiting the crime and the victims, and even to some regard, the perpetrators. It's exploiting their trauma, their pain, their crime for entertainment value. True crime does not exist because people want more information. True crime exists because people want to be entertained by things that scare them. And nothing's scarier than real things that have happened.
yeah.
Right? You can chase me in a movie with Michael Myers all day long, and that's scary, but at the end of the day, I know it's not real. But a true crime, you know, we joke about how they're like their heads are cut off, their arms are cut off. That's exploiting a real situation that happened.
Yeah. So you don't believe that there's any...
There is no informational value to it at all. If you want information about a crime, all that information exists, right? You can go and look it up. Most of that information is public record. That's where these true crime people get it from.
Yeah.
The only thing they're doing that's of value is they're taking that and distilling it into a consumable product. But you could argue that they're also editing that to be more entertaining.
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of points, and I'm starting to see that. I'm starting to see exactly what you're saying, because I've watched lots of documentaries. I've listened to lots of podcasts, and I'm trying to drill down to the reason why. Because a lot of people, we like what we like and we just go, I just like it. But why is the question.
I think you've always been fascinated by criminal justice.
And okay, so I'm trying to think about exactly why. And
because you're drawn...
for me,
right.
It's about, I'm not like the most lived person in the world. Like I don't get out and I don't see and I don't, know a lot of people, and I'm not very experienced in the world. Mm. So when I watch a documentary and something very bad happens or someone's a survivor, I want to learn from that situation. I want to see I like seeing and knowing how other people lived. I don't like seeing like anything that has to do with children. That terrifies me, especially because I have my own. But right. I love babies and I love little kids, and I don't want anyone to get hurt.
Right.
But there is this morbid curiosity about how other people lived. And
it's nosiness.
It is nosiness.
Right.
But I don't feel like I'm looking at it as entertainment. I'm looking at it as gathering information that if that person survived, then I could too. Or she did, or he did something very smart, or he did something very dumb.
So
I want to learn from that. I want to absorb all that so I can be smart in certain situations. I want to know that statistically, if you turn your lights on at nighttime, that, it prevents people from breaking it. I like learning from other people's, not mistakes, but other people's experiences.
But that's what I'm saying is like, you can't know that those things are true.
Yeah.
True crime is a misnomer.
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing true about it is that there was a crime.
That it happened.
That it was a crime that happened. Event. But all of the other stuff, what's that one that you listen to with Ashley Flowers?
Crime Junkies?
Yeah, Crime Junkies. That is 100% for entertainment value. That show is not giving you any real information. It's not giving you any actionable information. It's just giving you a story.
Yeah.
And it's a story told through the filter of another person interpreting what they found.
True.
Right? If you go and find one of the crimes they talk about, mm-hmm. and you do your own investigation on that, you're going to come to a different conclusion than Ashley and Brittany come to, because you're not doing it for entertainment at that point. You're just trying to find out more.
Yeah.
But because they're turning that information, that investigation, and I use that term lightly, mm-hmm. into a
like girl talk,
right? Monetary stream podcast, mm-hmm. they are then having to transform it so it tells good. Right? Because you're not going to sit and listen if it's boring.
Right. I see what you're saying.
And it's mostly boring. The reality is mostly boring.
Yeah.
Right? So they have to spice it up.
Yeah. And I think that's what I'm having trouble with is that when does it become like, I know that some people approach it respectfully.
I don't think that's true.
Well, I listened to a podcast called Crossing the Line with M. William Phelps. And he's a true crime.
That sounds like a very astute name. M. William Phelps.
He's written lots of books on true crime, but he always gets the permission of the family members.
But is he making money?
Most likely, but
if you're making money, you're exploiting.
I get that. And that's what I'm saying is that it feels wrong,
It is wrong.
but at the same time, if you approach it in a better way, I think.
No,
Then-
not if you're making money off of it. If
I
you
know.
have, like, if you,
But all of these, at least Crime Junkies and M. William Phelps, they're trying to help people by educating
they're not.
certain. Yeah. Okay.
I'm giving you my true
Okay, I
opinion.
get-
They're
I
not.
get it.
They're not trying to help anybody. That's part of their marketing shtick.
Yeah.
They are only trying to make money by exploiting real crimes for entertainment.
Well, here's another gross thing that's happening. There's several people on TikTok and Instagram who
Yeah, I saw that.
they will do something very mundane like washing dishes or putting on makeup while they're telling awful stories about victims and people that have survived terrible, terrible situations.
Yep.
And they're telling it so flippantly. And of course, they don't get any kind of permission from the family members of these people that they're talking about.
Right.
And so then the people that know the victims or the survivors of these terrible crimes get victimized all over again, really.
Yeah.
Because then they have to see it on social media for everyone to see and know all the business of this
That's
person.
way worse.
Way, way worse. But I'm saying is like, isn't there a point where it can be helpful if, like, what Phelps is doing is getting permission from the family members to
Is
write
the
a
crime
book?
unsolved?
Well, sometimes, but not all the time.
If the crime's unsolved and they approach it with as little bias as
Mm-hmm.
possible, which is extremely difficult because human beings are biased
Yeah.
all the time about everything, and it helps bring some more attention to a case that's unsolved or cold,
Yeah.
and then that case gets solved, I can see value and merit there. But then it's still, they're doing it, at the end of the day, they're doing it to make money, not
Yeah.
doing it because they really want to help. Because if they're doing it to really help, they would build their platform on something else and then just use that platform to get the word out,
I see what you're saying.
right?
Yeah.
But the people on TikTok and Instagram doing those makeup or like
That's
baking tutorial
really
where
disrespectful.
they're telling a thing over, those are the grossest. And those are just
And they're
to get the
this-
video to viral.
They're the same thing because they have millions of followers and, social media platforms pay those people. So
Well,
now they're making money off of telling someone's stories.
yeah, they're
that
exploiting in a
is in
different and worse way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm having trouble is because I'm trying to find where that line is to be from disrespectful to respectful in a way where if it helps me learn about, the criminal mind, quote unquote, because there are documentaries and TV shows that like, what's that one, Mindhunter?
Yeah.
About the FBI agents who defined the term serial killers.
Right.
Well, they changed all the names of the FBI agents
Right.
to not really to protect their identities because we know their identities, but they made them fictional characters for the FBI. But they gave real victims names and without permission, because some of the family members of those victims are like, "Whoa, what's happening, and why are you doing that?" When the FBI agents
that's not
are
cool.
fictional.
That's not cool.
So the victims are real, but the FBI agents are fictional. But why? There's no reason why. And I think that's why
Well, the reason why.
it got canceled and stuff is because they're trying to bank off that money or off that person's name, right?
Well, no, I guarantee that the decision just came down to, oh, that person is gone. There's no way to
but-
get rights to that person's name. We'll just use it because it's
I know,
the
but
name.
that was someone's child
I don't.
or
I am
sister
not-
or brother or
I am
something.
100% not okaying this.
No, I know.
I'm just explaining what I think happened. And then with the FBI agents, they're still alive, and they probably
Mm-hmm.
just said, "Don't use my name."
Yeah.
Plus, they wanted to fictionalize some of the characteristics of those people. So if they just make them someone else,
Yeah.
they can do things that didn't actually happen,
Yeah.
right?
And then
But it's also exploitative.
yeah.
I think this is what. First of all, I want to go back 1 second and say I don't think you are doing anything wrong by consuming those things from the point of view of why you're consuming them.
Okay.
Okay. You don't like watch one of those things and then come up to me and be like, oh my God, I just need to talk about this. This is so crazy. You are like destroyed. You're like, this was awful. I don't want this to ever happen to anyone. It feels like to me that you listen to these things to give your anxiety peace of mind about protecting your family.
Yeah.
Not so much because you're enthralled by crimes, because you also watch fictional crime shows, right? Like CSI or like SEAL Team, or I don't know what they're called. I don't watch any of those shows.
Those are exactly what those are called. So go ahead.
Blacklist. Because
Blacklist, it's for James Spader. Sorry,
okay,
but go ahead.
Weird. Because you like to know a lot about how that criminal justice system works, even though that stuff's mostly wrong.
Yeah, because there's
It
some sort of
gives you some sort of like comfort.
I've always been a believer that knowledge is power. And if I
it is.
stick my head in the sand and I pretend that something's not real,
Yeah.
that doesn't make me feel good.
Right.
I don't want to live in fear anymore.
Yeah.
I lived in fear for 16, 17 years of my life,
Right.
not knowing what was going to happen, not predicting the future, not knowing whether I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so my adult life, I've wanted to make sure that I'm okay. And so I consume lots of different things, media wise and quote unquote entertainment wise, because I want to alleviate those fears. So if I'm less, icked out about blood, then that's going to help me somehow.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to desensitize myself with some things. So that way, if I'm ever confronted with that, I know what to do.
Right.
Right. So there's just a lot of little like different kind of details that I'm getting from each and everything. Also, it's a little bit of a distraction from my own, hopelessness and, anxiety and all that stuff too.
No, I don't want to judge you or anything, but you asked me,
Yeah.
what do I think about those? I think they're completely exploitative. But I also am of the mind that any job or anything that you do in the system of capitalism to make money exploits something, somewhere, some person,
Yeah.
right? Even my job exploits people. I don't want that. I don't want to do that. So I fight every day to try to minimize that as much as possible. But just
or speak
the
out
idea
for something or someone.
just the idea that I'm collecting a paycheck exploited someone somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And that's true of every single job and every single profession under capitalism.
Yeah.
Even people who are not at the top of the food chain are in some way exploiting someone, right? Are there people that aren't exploiting anyone in the capitalist system? Yes. Anyone who's not being paid for something, right? And that just doesn't work. It's a disgusting system.
Yeah.
The whole thing's wrong and backwards. And
But it's like a runaway train at this point. We kind of have to either
it only feels like that because you can't get enough people to gather around and say, hey, we don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You look at it on a microcosm of like an office building. And everybody's like, I don't like that VP. He is mean and he doesn't care about us. But only 4 people are willing to walk out
Yeah.
of 50.
Right.
So it makes no difference. If you can get all 50 people to get up and be like, we won't come back until he's gone
Right.
because he's cruel.
Or like the Cottonwood KFC when one employee smacked another employee and you and me were like, we're out of here
Yeah.
with this because he's not being punished at all. What?
He didn't lose his job
No. And no one else left either.
because not enough of us left.
Even the person who got smacked didn't leave. So
Right.
you and I were like, something's going on.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me because I go back and forth and listening to someone's story, I feel terrified and sad for that person and their family. But then I also learn from it and go, I know not to do this, or I know not to talk to a cop, or I know that if I'm, because there's these stories where like it's always the spouse, right? Supposedly it's always the spouse. And so law enforcement will just focus like hardcore in on one person.
It's not always a spouse, but it's the spouse enough.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's where you start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like law enforcement will zero in, and then the person will either not mourn enough over their spouse or too much. And it's like, it's one of those things where you go, whether I did it or not, I'm getting a lawyer first. I'm not talking to a single person unless I have representation. Because I'm going to end up saying something or being a certain way that is not going to be looked at.
You should never talk to cops in any situation.
No, not in any situation. And I know sometimes that's terrifying.
Yeah.
But you have to
Of
really...
course, there's authority there and it's intimidation. Right?
Because, and a lot of what I'm seeing in all of these is that law enforcement is in a position of power where they can choose what rules they want to follow and what rules they don't want to follow.
Yeah.
And if they think you're absolutely guilty, like to the core of their being, you're effed. You're absolutely effed. And so that's the information that I want to get. I want to know exactly what's, predictable of people and how awful people can be. And I don't know. There are some stories, especially with children, that I don't want to ever go anywhere near because those are just the saddest of the sad.
Yeah, I don't like stories with children either. It's
even if I wasn't a mother, I wouldn't want to,
Yeah. I want to go back to the exploitation thing for capitalism for a second. I don't want anybody to come away from what I said feeling bad about, like, if you're a billionaire, feel really bad. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you've got $100 million or less, if you got $100 million, feel kind of bad, right? You're really exploiting. Mm. But if you are like an everyday worker, do not feel bad about being part of an exploitative system. Get your bag and get out as fast as you can, right? Like that's what you need to do.
But
because you have to play the game of the system that exists, because there aren't enough of us to go, fuck this system and seize the means of production, right?
Yeah.
So we just have to play the game that we're in. Mm-hmm. And so I look at people who, figure a way out of that game as heroes.
Yeah.
Right? But once you surpass $100 million and you keep going and you're not giving and you're just hoarding at that point, you become the enemy now. You are now the reason that the system is so broken.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyways, I just don't want anybody who's,
No, you just
working a minimum wage job to feel like I'm telling them they're bad people, because that's not what I'm saying. No. I'm just saying that
you have no choice, really.
There is no level of participating in capitalism that doesn't have some sort of exploitation somewhere. Yeah. Anyways,
I'm sorry this is a heavy topic. I just wanted to get your take on it because
I hate true crime.
You do?
I hate it. I don't think it has any value to the world. I just think it's gross. I don't mind fictional stuff as much, the NCIS and what's another one? I just don't mind those ones as much. Sometimes they'll use a real crime as in-spiration, right?
Yeah.
Law and Order does that a lot. Mm-hmm. But they change all the names and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's still exploitative for entertainment value.
Yeah.
But it feels less icky to me, those shows do, than true crime shows.
Yeah.
Documentaries, though, generally speaking, is the grandfather of the true crime podcast, is a documentary. And documentaries are always biased from the point of view of the filmmaker.
Yeah. Or, it depends on what side they go with.
It depends on what side they take and then edit and tell that story.
Yeah.
The true crime does the same thing, except for they're always coming from the side of the victim, which is the correct side to come from.
Yeah. Well, except there are some that are very heavily law enforcement side, where law enforcement is basically telling the story of it. And it's he's a scumbag, blah, blah, blah. But
law enforcement is very biased as well.
Yes, exactly. And so I never know. I definitely don't trust the law enforcement side because they're in the position of power. And they, a lot of times, even
abuse and exploit that power.
Yes, they abuse their power. And even so much as like the district attorneys and, all of that, the prosecutors, and they'll just zero in, like I said, and they'll just have zero, like they won't look at anyone else if they know that they can close a case on one person, whether or not they did it or not. Because
what was that really popular Making a Murderer, that Netflix one?
Yeah.
That was very much focused on the police just deciding, oh, this guy did it.
Right.
So we're just going to make sure everything points at him.
Yes. And
but then again,
that's terrifying.
But then again, that whole documentary is told from the point of view of the filmmaker who sides with Steven.
Right.
And so you don't know what's
Yes.
the actual truth. And the only way to know is to do that evidence investigation yourself.
Yeah.
And then come to your own conclusion, which also might be wrong.
Yeah. So that's where I'm conflicted. I'm having
Yeah.
a conflict of compassion and
I'm going to go back. I'm going to take a step back. There is some value there. The value is that it can cause people to look into things themselves, and it can cause people to have conversations that they wouldn't normally have had around those things. But I do still feel like they're basically rooted in making a buck.
yeah.
Right? That Netflix documentary, even, they didn't make it for free out of
Right.
the kindness of their heart. They wanted to get paid.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's
Yes.
really hard.
Yeah, I know. And so as the consumer, it's a conflict because I don't know. I'm still conflicted about it because I'm still drawn to it in a way of I need more information.
Yeah, me too.
I want to solve it. I want to figure it out. I want to learn from this situation. I want to protect my kids and my my girl someday.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to have all the information from all sides. That way I can make a better decision.
Yeah, again, I think that your approach to it isn't, I don't think you're getting any joy out of it. Which is, if I felt like you were getting any joy out of those
Yeah.
things, then I'd be more concerned and would be like, I think these aren't really healthy for you.
Yeah.
But I feel like you are doing it from a point of view of like, the more info I have about the more possible things that can go wrong,
Yeah.
the more safe I feel. Like your anxiety sometimes I feel is opposite to mine. For me, the less I know, the better I feel. For you, the more you know, the better you feel, right?
Yeah.
But I also am very much of the mind that I can ad lib in the moment if something bad happens and be okay. I don't think you feel that way. I don't think you feel like if you're just walking down the street and someone attacks you, that you'd be able to get yourself out of that without being prepared.
Right.
And I think that this is part of your preparation is listening to these things. Because when you leave the house, you take a little alarm, you take a knife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You are ready for attack. The likelihood of you being attacked is low, but it's not zero.
It's not zero.
And it's worse because you're a woman, right? And so you have to feel safe when you go places. You have to.
And hopefully hopefully I'm not doing it in a disrespectful way.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm watching all these and knowing other people's lives and the way they lived and the way they died keeps others like me alive too.
Yeah.
Because we see the game.
And that's where I'm saying that I think it maybe has some value,
Yeah.
right?
It gives us power knowing that, oh, now I know that trick, right? So
Yeah, I get that. I see that.
because I do live in my own 6-foot world and I have to, otherwise I get overwhelmed.
Right.
But when I choose to, when I make the choice to watch something or listen to something, I feel devastated at first, but then I go, okay, well, how can I learn from this?
Yeah.
And how do I say the person's name over and over because I want that to mean something, just like their family wants that person to mean something, not to
100%,
be
yep.
entertainment.
Yep.
And so I think if I'm going to consume any of it, I want to consume the ones that do it in a respectful way, that have interviews and conversations with the victims' families.
Do you feel like Crime Junkies is doing it respectfully?
I think they're doing it more respectfully now than when it first started.
Okay, because when I was commuting back in 2019, early 2020, I was listening to that podcast on the drive because I had an hour drive.
Yeah.
And I always felt like they were kind of like not making light of it, but just kind of like,
It was girl talk.
oh
I
my
think that's
God, can you believe that even happened?
Right.
Wait, there's more. It's like, felt very exploitative. to
so
me.
now they have conversations with the victims' families. They have interviews with law enforcement and the victims' families or
Because they've
loved
gotten
ones.
bigger. So
Yes.
their platform
They're
allows
huge
for
now.
that now. Yeah, I see.
And now they have a separate thing where it's called Season of Justice, where they put money into to help with DNA testing, because now they have this thing where if DNA was left at a crime scene, but it's not in the national database of criminals.
Yeah.
So say someone left DNA, but they've never done anything since or have been, because the only time you can get DNA into a database is by being put in jail with a felony. Then they take your DNA and they put it in this major database.
Don't you get put in that database from 23andMe and those kinds of things as well, or no?
Okay, so that's what they're doing now.
Okay.
That's what they're doing. They're tracing your ancestral line with that DNA. And that's very controversial, but I
Super
believe
controversial, yeah.
I believe that if you do something wrong and that DNA was left at a crime scene, you have some knowledge, whether you did it or not, you have some knowledge to that crime.
Well, I don't know that I agree with that.
Yeah, I get that.
I think that DNA I think it's still it's a very,
Yes. Say it.
I'm trying to say the right word here. It's not a very precise science.
Exactly.
And I have a lot of fear around people figuring out, oh, this person did it because we found some of their DNA
Right.
near where we found this body.
Right.
But
That's
it was
what
a
I'm
public
saying.
space, and you know what I'm saying?
That's
Like,
what I'm saying is
yeah.
that even if you didn't do the actual crime,
But you might not know.
right.
You might have just passed
But
through
at
there
least-
and spit on the
at
ground while
least
you're
it
walking
gives-
by.
Yeah, because at least it gives law enforcement a lead, some direction to go to, whether or not. And that is a very scary thing. I get that, because then if they don't have any other suspects, they can zero in on you and you're effed.
Yeah, I'm not really happy about hearing about that. I
No.
wish I didn't know.
Sorry, but yes, now they'll take that DNA and they'll put it into 23andMe kind of a thing, but Ancestry.com, and I don't think all of those places are doing that because this is very controversial
Yeah.
about it. But a lot of crimes have been solved, either rapists or murderers, by finding these people's family members and then looking at those people around them and going, aha, you knew this person, you were,
Maybe.
it.
I don't like it.
I know it's a lot of power, but hopefully you luck into one of the good law enforcement people that actually want to follow the evidence.
I mean, those people exist, right? But
Yes, I know. I know.
but they still do. They still. Never mind. I don't want to get into that.
Anyways,
I want you to know that I'm very scared of that now.
I'm
I don't
sorry.
like that at all.
Neither do I. Neither do I.
That's almost
it's a-
Minority Report, where they're relying on like visions of a
Yeah.
clairvoyant. What? No, that's not how crimes work.
But we are seeing a lot of crimes being solved that are
But you're
exonerating.
saying solved when we don't know if they're actually solved. Do they just change the suspect, right?
Yeah, I guess. But it is exonerating. It is exonerating some people that have spent a long time in jail. So DNA is I'm sure there's a way to tell whether DNA, like what kind of DNA was it? Was it just trace evidence, or was it like,
Yeah, maybe. It sounds awful to me.
yeah, or where it was left, like if it's like a party house, then you're kind of, you knew that person. Like it's someone in someone's house. It's a little bit different.
That's where I fundamentally disagree. I don't think you can make that leap. I don't think you can say, we found this DNA where we found this body, so this person definitely knows what happened or knows somebody who knows what's happened. You can't, that's not.
That's true.
That's not how it works.
I know, but I don't know.
Right? I'm a drunk frat kid. I walk past
well, I don't like scenarios.
I walk past your frat house and you're upstairs doing a crime. I'm super drunk, so I piss in your bushes and spit on your bushes. Then I leave. I don't know you. I don't know what's in that house or what happened.
Right.
But they find that DNA in the bushes, and now I'm being questioned about something I have no idea about.
Yeah.
Because of proximity. Doesn't make any sense to me. And I know that's an extreme example.
Yeah.
And maybe not even possible. I don't know if you can get DNA from piss, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
It's like how they can't make that determination.
I know. And that's where I think we need to.
That's why I liked Bones.
Yeah, because it was more science.
It's because she would go, well, we can't make that.
Right.
This looks like it, sure, but we can't say that definitively.
And that leads me to my very last point, and then we don't have to talk about this ever again. Okay.
I'll talk about it if you want to.
Okay, but you're right. So we've watched all the CSIs, right? And they are always very like, let's follow the evidence.
You've watched all the CSIs.
Sorry. Yes, I have.
I've
fallen asleep to all the CSIs.
Yeah.
It's always follow the evidence, follow the evidence, follow the evidence, but more from a scientist point of view, right?
Yeah.
So what we really, 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 really need, and I hope everyone's listening, what we really, really, really need is more training for law enforcement to follow evidence and science rather than people's behaviors.
Yeah, but I guess that's the main problem, though, is that we don't have that.
That's what I'm saying. That's what we need, because we need people who yes, behavior comes into it. Yes, predictability comes into it. But if we're not following the true evidence of things, because there are people sitting in jail that don't have they have circumstantial evidence, like, oh, it's possible.
Well, I would say that it's because law enforcement officers are human beings.
Yes.
I would say that it's quite possible that they think they are doing that.
And I'm sure they do.
And they've convinced themselves that they're doing that,
I'm sure.
even when they do things that other people would go, if they saw a video of it, they go, well, that's a little far.
It's hard to have the whole perspective.
Yeah.
It is. I get it. Human beings are just that. We're human.
Yep.
And we make mistakes and we get focused on things that, probably isn't the right thing to get focused on. But that's why the training needs to come into view. Yeah. We need more training for these people all over the place. We need more mental health training. We need more follow the evidence and science.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that would help. I think that will help.
I agree. 100% agree. That would help. I love you.
I'm sorry. I love you too.
You don't have to be sorry.
I love you too.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Lou and Me podcast, subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, or Spotify.
And follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Lou and Me Podcast.
Lou and Me is a Matthiasaurus production, produced and edited by Moose. The song is No Carpets by The New Forevers, hosted by Lou and me.
Thanks for listening.